Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. One of the projects I wanted to tackle on my 2004 F150, as you can see behind me, is redoing my aftermarket headlights. Just after a while, a lot of aftermarket headlights, especially those purchased on Amazon or eBay, they just don't have the same level of quality on the coating that protects the plastic underneath. And over time, it will yellow, it'll fade, and it will get brittle, which is exactly what happened to mine. And it just kind of creates an unsightly look. It's something that's kind of bugging me for a while, but I finally tackled this refresh, and I want to share with you how I did that here today, so stick around for the video. Like I said before, aftermarket headlights are really something that just do not do well in the sun. It just wears away that coating, it gets really cracked, brittle, and yellow, and it can leave you, honestly, not only a bad look, but pretty bad visibility. So it's something that I really wanted to take care of. It just makes the vehicle look so much better, and it's not that bad of a process. Now, this isn't a how-to, I just want to share with you guys kind of what I did. One of the stars of this refresh is going to be this Meguiars Headlight Coating. Now, this is a protectant that you put over your newly finished headlights. This is not what you use to finish them, it's what you're using to seal in your work. There are different ways you can do this. Some people buy those headlight restoration kits. I'm into detailing, I'm into this sort of stuff, so I have a lot of this stuff on hand, so I can just kind of make my own little kit and just tackle it myself. So I had seen this talked about on Auto Geek's Facebook group. I had also been researching it, and it's one of these things where you need to protect the surfaces after you've basically sanded down that coating and polished your headlights out. Because what's going to happen is they're just going to go right back to looking crappy because there's no UV protectant. Think of it kind of like a sealant for your paint. It's the same idea. You're trying to protect that finish. Now, some people will use clear coat, some people will use ceramic coating, and there's different ways to do it, but I chose to use this. It typically, from what I can find, is going to last around a year, but I'm going to keep, as I wash the vehicle anyways, I always use that ceramic spray from Turtle Wax, so I have a feeling it may extend that coating. Plus, as you can see in here, my truck is garaged most of the time. So to kind of begin this project, I did it two different ways, one of which was the first attempt, which was really just a trial run, but I want to give you an idea of what I used in general. Now, the first part of this project centered around wet-dry sandpaper. Now, this particular one has different grits. I think it goes from like 400 grit to 4,000 grit. It's just wet-dry sandpaper. I got this on Amazon, but you can get this at a lot of auto place stores. I mean, any sort of thing like that. And then I've had this sanding block for a long time. You just wrap the sandpaper in it. And so what I did was the first attempt, as you'll see here, was really just to see how good could I get these headlights while they were on the truck. I taped everything off and then just took my time with the lowest grit of wet dry sandpaper I had, which I believe was the 400 grit. And as you'll see, I took my time sanding it, did the wet application, worked my way up through the grits, and then after that I polished it out, and it was an improvement, but it didn't remove that crack coating. One of the things that I found, as you'll probably may encounter yourself, is a lot of these coatings start flaking, and if you don't get that coating off, it's going to leave behind those same peeling marks. You may improve the look, but it's still going to continue to peel off and have that yellow tinge. So at that point, I was like, you know what? Let's get these headlights off the truck. I'll bring them into the shop, and then we'll work on sanding all that peeling coating off. So in order to get that coating off, I knew I was going to have to be more aggressive, so I pulled out my orbital sander and I used 220 grit sandpaper. Now, this is something you're going to use dry, and this is an assorted pack that I have. I think I got this on Amazon a couple years ago, and it just has all different grits all the way down to, I think, 60. It's usually for wood, but I used the 220 grit. And the purpose here was to get that coating off as quickly as I could and to be the most time effective. And it worked great, but just realize the grit, as you're doing this, it's going to be pretty aggressive and it's going to really frost the headlights, but don't worry about that. It's just part of the process. So I worked my way from the 220 grit. I cleaned the headlight off, and then it was time to start increasing the grit level here as I am going through the wet-dry process. And I started at 400 grit at that point, and each time I'm just trying to take my time removing the previous level grit sandpaper's marks. And I worked my way from 400 to 600 to 800 to 1,000, and then ultimately I finished off with, I believe it was 2,000 to 3,000 grit. And the purpose there was really to refine those scratches. I had done a couple of trial runs going through and polishing at different levels where I had sanded, and I got the best results when I finished off with the 3,000 grit sandpaper. Your results may be different, and depending if you clear coat your headlights, you may need to stop at a lower grit, say like 1,200, because the clear coat is going to need to adhere. But I couldn't get it to finish down the way I wanted, so I ended up going with the 3,000 grit. So after I got the 3,000 grit taken care of, it was time to move on to the compounding and polishing steps. And I'm just using these Meguiars twins. This is Ultimate Compound and then Ultimate Polish. These are widely available, Walmart, any sort of place like that. They're super available. And I chose these just for ease of use. I've used them a lot, and I have different products available, but they work really well, especially for the price. So the compound, you're trying to start refining some of those finer scratches that are left. Typically, you're going to use a more aggressive pad with this. And then as you switch over to the polishing, this is really where you start to refine and get that extra clarity. You can usually get away with something like a black pad. But again, if you have a kit, you may have a different, setup that they're providing you, but that's just what I used. And so by going through with these, this is really where that gloss and clarity came from, and it got my headlights ready for this protective coating. And at this point, I was able to reassess and say, okay, I'm really happy with this, or no, I need to do a little more sanding. And I did have to do that. At one point, I did go back and redo one of the headlights because I just wasn't happy with it. And that second time around is really where I became quite happy with how it looked. Once I had got everything polished out and looking pretty good, it was time to clean the surface off and get it ready for the Meguiars Headlight Coating. So I always use this Stoner's glass cleaner. It works awesome. So I cleaned the surface with this because this product here from Meguiars said to use a glass cleaner to clean the headlights. So I did that and got it ready to apply this coating. Now you're typically going to do something like this to protect your headlights. Like I said before, you can use a clear coat, like 2K Clear is very popular for people to use. It's a very durable automotive grade clear coat. And then again, like I said, I'm using this kind of like a temporary coating. Usually get somewhere around a year, or you can even do something like ceramic coating. It's totally your call. This is just what I chose to do, and I will be sure to update you guys in about 6 months and see how this thing's holding up. So I have the whole headlights ready to go, and I just took my time doing overlapping passes. I did 2 coats on these headlights, and I think that they did a really nice job. It filled in those finer scratches, which again is pretty common with a lot of these coatings or clear coat. It's going to fill in those finer scratches in the lens and really make them look brand new. The whole goal of this again is to give you UV protection so the headlights don't regress and go back to looking, faded and yellowed. And I'm hopeful that this stuff will work. It's got really good reviews on it. It went on really easy, and it's really easy to apply in the future if I do need to go through and apply it again. So guys, I think these headlights came out awesome. It's one of those little projects that had been kind of picking at me for a little bit, and I'm glad I finally put aside some time to get these done. It's not a hard product. It just takes a little time and a little bit of elbow grease, but it's something that makes a big difference to the front of your vehicle and really is honestly a safety thing at this point. Instead of having a guy sitting on the front of your headlights holding little candles, which is basically the equivalent of what a frosted over headlight would be, you have nice, clear, good-looking headlights, but it's also very, very functional and, again, safety. You need to be able to see at night. So guys, I will definitely keep you posted on this Meguiars Headlight Coating. Give you maybe a 6-month update, and then maybe again we'll do another one in a year and just see how it's holding up and if I'd recommend it. So for now guys, let me know what you think. I'll be sure to share any of these future products with you guys. I'm going to be refinishing some of the plastics on the truck. It's 17 years old, getting up there a little bit, so we're going to do a little refreshing. So I'll be sure to share that with you guys, and let me know of any comments or questions down below, and I'd be happy to answer them as always. So thanks for watching guys, I appreciate it. We will talk to you in the next one. Take care.